Good morning, ladies and gentlemen. Welcome to Professor Ming's Strategic Insights. I'm sure you must have noticed the PLA, the People's Liberation Army, conducted a military exercise against Taiwan. They sent out dozens of warships, and including coastal guard ships, and they navigate around Taiwan, form a full circle, according to their news release. But it does constitute a military threat to Taiwan's security. As for the purpose of this military drill, according to their spokesperson, are twofold. The first one, to deter or to intimidate the so-called Taiwan Independence Force inside Taiwan, and secondly, to issue a warning against foreign interference of Taiwan affairs. So let's set aside the second question, namely sending a warning toward outside interference. Let's set aside the second question for today and concentrate on the first one, namely the so-called to deter or to intimidate the Taiwan Independence Force inside Taiwan. Let me ask you, how do they look at the so-called Taiwan independence? What's their official position? Upon hearing this question, you may laugh. You say, you just said it. They want to intimidate or they want to deter Taiwan independence. So what kind of question is this? Let me rephrase the question again. Is it really so? Or is it really so simple? Are there other considerations, or are there other calculations, strategic calculations behind their claim? In order to better answer this question, I may have to trace back China's history, the history of China's division. As we all know that China divided in the year of 1949, and we've been confronting or competing against each other for such a period of time. And some may wonder, why was this division, or why is all the competition or confrontation about? Some may argue it's a power struggle between two persons, between two people. One is Chiang Kai-shek representing the KMT, and one is Mao Zedong representing the CCP, the Chinese Communist Party. Well, they both passed away, but the competition or confrontation is still here. So that's not all the answer, at least it's not complete. And some may argue it's a competition or confrontation between two parties, the Communist Party and the Nationalist Party, the KMT. But now in Taiwan, it's not the KMT in power. It's the Democratic Progressive Party, the DPP, is in power. So it's a totally different party. So again, the answer about the party competition is not really complete. According to my observation, I guess we have to answer a question from this angle. As I see it, the division or the confrontation between the two sides of the Taiwan Strait is actually a competition between different models. Models for China's industrialization and for China's modernization. We try to determine which is the better or the best model for this question. Well, we have to go back to the Opium War. The Opium War started in 1840, which lasted for several years. But after that, China had gone through decades and actually a century of challenges from outside, challenges from foreign powers, or as Chinese call it, foreign imperialists around the world. So China was actually caught in a matter of life and death, because China was still an agrarian economy or an agrarian country, while the Western countries, namely the European countries, at least most of the European countries, were industrialized and they were imperialist at that time. This part of Chinese history is kind of complicated and tedious. Let me make the story short. Both Imperial China and Republic China had experimented very different models over the years. But eventually, the issue boils down to the competition between the three principles of the people created by Dr. Sun Yat-sen and between communism. So it's a confrontation or competition between the two models, the three principles of people model and the communist model. Talking about this confrontation or competition between the three principles of the people and communism, I'm sure that most of you must at least have a rough idea of how the communism is like, or what the communism is like. At least you know that for the past 70-some years, how the Chinese Communist Party ruled mainland China. I'm sure you must know something about it. But I'm pretty sure that not very many of you are familiar with Dr. Sun Yat-sen's idea, his three principles of the people. Let me again make the story short. It's a design or blueprint for China's modernization and industrialization designed by Dr. Sun Yat-sen. Dr. Sun received his early education in the United States, and he spent some time in the United States. He also traveled European countries to study their politics, their economy, and their society, especially after the impact of industrialization in modern times. And also he spent some time to study the modern theories at the time, the books that he could find at the time. He studied at the British Museum for some time. And then he formulated his idea of how to modernize China. He called it the three principles of the people, roughly translated as nationalism for China, and people's political rights, and people's livelihood. So that's what we call the three principles of the people. Let me put it this way. Dr. Sun's goal was to build China into another United States of America. And that's his ideal for China. Dr. Sun overthrew the Qing dynasty in the year 1911, and then he established the Republic of China in the year of 1912. 9 years later, in the year of 1921, the Chinese Communist Party was established. Originally, it was established as a Chinese branch of the Communist Party of the Soviet Union, but then it was renamed as the Chinese Communist Party. So the two models, the models by Dr. Sun Yat-sen and the model of communism, began their competition on the land of China for decades, and it was interrupted by Japanese invasion. It was after the resistance war against Japanese invasion ended in 1945, the competition of the two models, or embodied by the two parties, the KMT, the Nationalist Party, and the Communist Party, resumed in 1946. In the year of 1946, the Chinese Communist Party started the Civil War. 3 years later, the Nationalist Party was defeated and retreated to Taiwan since. And that began the division of China. So now that we see that the two models or the two roads or two paths began their competition across Taiwan Strait. On Taiwan is the three principles of the people, and on the mainland is communism. So on the surface, we see there's a confrontation between the two sides of the Taiwan Strait, mainland and Taiwan. But in essence, it's a confrontation or competition between two models for modernization of China. As you all know, that ever since the division of China in 1949, Communist China always wanted to incorporate Taiwan. In fact, in 1949, they launched an all-out war against Taiwan, but they were defeated in October. Then their ambition was prevented by two major reasons. The first thing is, of course, the outbreak of the Korean War. They participated in the Korean War and fought the war against the United States. And that brought about the second hindrance for them. The military alliance between Taiwan and the United States, that's what we call the Mutual Defense Pact, lasted for 25 years. It was ended in 1979. So the alliance, the military alliance or military pact between Taiwan and the United States made Mao Zedong, the leader of the Communist Party at the time, realize that if he wants to take over Taiwan, or if he wants to take Taiwan, he has to fight the United States, or using their jargon, they have to struggle against the United States. But they know at the time, if they want to struggle against the United States, they have no chip, they have no bargaining chips, or they have no leverage. So they have to create some kind of leverage or some kind of bargaining chip out of nothing. That is the opposition of Taiwan independence, or using the so-called opposition of Taiwan independence as a major slogan, as a major strategy to achieve their purpose. And over time, this opposition of Taiwan independence has evolved and developed into their national grand strategy. This grand strategy has three aspects, or three major targets: Taiwan, Chinese society, and the international community. Toward Taiwan, they use this opposition against Taiwan independence to struggle against Taiwan's accomplishments. Well, as we all know, Taiwan has been quite successful in its effort to industrialize and to modernize its society. So it has a booming economy, it has a vibrant, pluralistic society, and it has democratic politics. So Taiwan has been quite successful. But in the eyes of the Chinese Communist Party, they have to downplay Taiwan's accomplishments and to smear it. So they blame it as, oh, it's all Taiwan independence, it's nothing. And the second aspect is to mobilize themselves. If you smear Taiwan's accomplishment and smear it as it's nothing, just Taiwan independence, you can easily mobilize people, the Chinese people, or brainwash people with what we call a false nationalism, a false nationalistic mobilization. So you can see that. As for the international circle, they can use it as a leverage or as a bargaining chip. Let me explain that later on. So the other side of this opposition to Taiwan independence is the so-called One China principle. They've been saying that the People's Republic of China, not the Republic of China, the People's Republic of China, mainland China, is the sole legal government of China. They use that phrase, they use that sentence all over. Be them may communicate with other countries or a document in international situation or in their propaganda. They say that all the time. And Taiwan is always blamed as one province of China or a renegade province of China. So they want to retake Taiwan, or they want to unify with Taiwan, or they want to bring Taiwan back to the so-called homeland. In international politics, they use opposition of Taiwan independence as a weapon, as a propaganda weapon. They make a scene out of it. They raise a big uproar over the issue. Whenever Taiwan says something, they say, oh, it's Taiwan independence. Whenever other countries want to establish some kind of relations with Taiwan, be them made doing business, buying or selling chips, buying or selling weapons or whatever, or even just a navigation across Taiwan Strait, they said, oh, you're helping Taiwan independence. You're giving the false impression to the Taiwan independence force inside Taiwan. They say that all the time. So like I said, they try to make a fuss or make a scene out of it. If you do it over and over for years or for decades, people get the impression you hate Taiwan independence. You worry about it very much. You don't like it. Whenever people do something that may lead to that consequence, or even having said that, let me clarify myself a little bit. I'm not saying that they are not serious about opposition of Taiwan independence. They use it just as a propaganda or propagandistic slogan or what. It could be serious. It could turn into real action against Taiwan. I'll come back to that later. But at this point, let me ask you this. So what's the real issue in the relations across Taiwan Strait? Or what's the real issue between Taiwan and mainland? Is it unification and Taiwan independence? Or what? Or let me put it this way. If Taiwan doesn't want independence, does the question vanish? Will it disappear? Or should Taiwan be unified, by mainland China, by communist China, and there's no issue of Taiwan independence, and things will turn better, or things would be much better around the world, or at least in the Asia-Pacific region? Or if, just a big if communist China unified Taiwan, will they be better? Will they be more benevolent? Or will they be more vicious? What would you think? So I think that's the real issue. Or perhaps we can ask you this. If, instead of Taiwan independence, if there's no communism, no communist party, no Chinese Communist Party, would things be better? Will things be better across Taiwan Strait, in the Asia region, or even around the world? So by now, let me ask you again, what's the real issue in the question of across Taiwan Strait relations? Is it Taiwan independence, or is it communism? So the previous discussion is just a reminder. I just want to remind you what the real issue across Taiwan Strait is. I'm saying that the PRC, or the People's Republic of China, has been using opposition to Taiwan independence as a grand strategy, as a national strategy, to deceive the world. Not only to deceive Taiwan, to bully Taiwan, but also use it as a strategy to deceive the entire world. They want to divert people's attention away from communism, and they want to formulate Taiwan independence as the real issue. But actually, as we know, that's not true. So having said that, let me remind you again, opposition of Taiwan independence, it is a slogan, it is a grand strategy adopted by mainland China. But over time, it could become a real matter. Namely, they could use it as a pretense or as an excuse to launch an all-out invasion against Taiwan. That's something we must bear in mind, and that's something we must be prepared for. And that's the question I want to share with you today. I hope you like today's program. All the questions and comments are welcome. And I'll see you next time then.